Okay, my name's Greg and my wife Shelley is sitting on the board. We operate an AI service, so we go to people's places and AI their cattle for, usually when there's got a lot to do at once, not just one or two, okay? So we do in a 4-hour window up to 250 head at one time. So the talk today is about AI and AI in the cattle industry and why we use it. So just on a bull, start bulling the cow, you might only get, if there's only one bull in the mob of cows, you might only get 45 calves a year. If it's a bigger herd and you've got say 200 cows, you probably put 7 or 8 bulls in. Each individual bull in a lot sire. Bulls are going to get maybe 25 calves a year. So if you've been out to the stud sales at Gracemere, which happen every spring, and spent 20, 30, 40, 50,000 or more on a bull and putting out the cows, how many calves you can expect to get a year from that investment? Yeah.
Because if you took 4 bulls in one paddock, they might go over the same amount of bulls as you can.
Yeah, that's right. So you might have to DNA test to know who the real father is. If you take semen from a bull and put it in straws, like this. So each one of those holds enough semen to get a cow and calf, all right? And when you collect the bull, you collect it once a week. Get enough to make 200 straws a week. Now it works about half the time, so about 50% chance that when you use a straw, you're going to get that cow and calf. That's still 100 calves a week. 5,200 calves a year. 45 calves. So you can see by using AI, you get a whole lot more calves from one bull. Okay? And in lots of different places at the same time. Because once these straws are frozen and put in these canisters, you can move it around Australia and even around the world, depending on the health status of the bull. Semen moves internationally between countries. Okay? So semen from Queensland goes to Central and South America, Africa, Asia primarily. Some goes to the US, and a lot comes into Australia from the US, Canada, New Zealand, and parts of Europe. You get nothing from South America. Have any of you heard of foot and mouth disease? So foot and mouth disease happens in South and Central America, and we are not allowed to bring bull semen or embryos in from those countries, even though they've probably got some of the best cattle and the most cattle in the world. They can use ours. Okay? So your semen is stored in these little straws, and it's stored in liquid nitrogen. Now to keep it preserved so it lasts forever, there is semen around that I've used that is 60 years old. Okay? So once it's frozen down, it's kept frozen, and it's frozen 10 times colder than your freezer at home. So the freezer you keep your ice cream in at home is running at about minus 19, minus 20 degrees. The liquid nitrogen in these tanks is minus 196. Okay? So it's 10 times colder. And when it's that cold, it just sits there and does nothing. It's just sitting frozen solid until you thaw it out. Then it comes back to life. Okay? That's the little straws. This one here, you'll notice is a bit bigger in diameter. It's an American straw. Americans use bigger straws, but they don't put any more semen in than the little straws. When you get semen from a bull, you don't just put straight semen in a straw. You mix it with skim milk, egg yolk, sugar, and antifreeze. So you put in the radiator every car. Okay, so that's what's inside these straws. And each straw has 25 million sperm, individual sperm. You need 10 million at the time of the AO of the cow. Only one does the job, that's survival of the fittest. Okay? Half don't survive being frozen down, thawed out again. And the half that do will do the job. Okay? So that's why we use AI. It's also allowed us to bring a lot of breeds into Australia. So we had a lot of Brahmanas all come from primarily Texas, okay, from the US. All your European breeds out of Europe, like your Simmental, Charolais, Limousin, and on it goes. You've been looking at speckled parks that come out of Canada, okay. So all of these other genetics have come into Australia in these tanks, either as semen in them straws or as frozen embryos in them straws. You cannot bring an animal from one of those countries to Australia anymore. About 20 years ago you could, but since the outbreak of mad cow disease there's a ban and you cannot bring cattle into Australia as a live animal. Years ago, a Brahman breeder might go to America, to Texas, buy a bull, put him on plotters, fly him over here, and when he got here, they'd collect semen here. They're not allowed to, so he has to have the semen collected over in America and stored. Yep. If you don't keep them in the nitrogen, it'll only stay alive enough, good enough to get a calf for perhaps a day or so. Okay, it's got to be frozen down to keep over time. Each straw is designed to be, that's one dose. So if you have two cows ready to mate and you put half in this one and half in that one, you're half the chances of getting, you might get two calves, you might get nothing. Okay. The only time they use one straw to get a lot of calves is if you do IVF. So if you have someone come to your place and take a lot of eggs from your cow, and they put them in an incubator, go back to Brisbane, and they'll fertilise them, grow them out to 7 days old, and then come back and put them in recipient cows, other cows. Okay, that's when you can use one straw to make a lot of calves. But other than that, no. The semen's put in the straws in the laboratory. Okay, so the semen's taken from the bull, and you'll end up with about 5, not a lot of volume. And then they look at it under a microscope and work out how far they can dilute it out. So you end up with 25 million of them that are good, because in any semen there's some that aren't so good. They might be dead, there might be something wrong with them, they're not going to get a cow and calf. You end up with 25 million good ones in each straw. And from that 1 5 mil collection, you can often make about 200 straws, which is a lot. A lot of semen. Normally in the normal situation of the bull in the paddock, that would be all be used just to make one calf, not 100. Yeah.
But if say you actually suitable for that, how long would that last?
Indefinitely. So I've used semen that's 60 years old. So once it's frozen in there, as long as you keep that filled up with nitrogen, it'll just stay there till you get it out. Yeah. So I have used semen that's 60 years old, but it's not even in straws. It's before they invented straws. So before they invented straws, they used to put it in little glass jars. Okay. So that's actual semen in there. It's no good anymore because it's hot. But yeah, that is bull semen collected in about 1968. Okay.
And we won't be breaking any of
I'm
those.
going to open that up. It won't smell very good. Okay. I'll get out some liquid nitrogen for you. These AI canisters work the same as the furnace. So they're a vacuum flask, just like your Yetis. Any of you got Yeti water bottles?
Yeah.
They're Yetis. It's a great marketing job, haven't they? So they all work as a vacuum flask for insulation. So these are made in America, the good ones, and a very strong insulation. If my thermos was as good a quality as this, I could put boiling water in that today and get boiling water out in 3 months. Okay, so that's how much water equivalent these are. I'll get some nitrogen out, but if any of you've got a tank like this at home, never do what I'm doing. Okay, never tip it up. Because if you've got straws in it, they'll come out. And then they're lost. If they go in there, they'll be right, you can get them back out, but if they go on the ground, they're no good. Or you've got to use them straight away. Yeah.
If you've got straws in there, you don't tip it like that. No, never.
Yeah. So that's liquid nitrogen, and this styrofoam, that's just normal temperature out there, and in there is minus 196. That just, I'll show you what happens if you touch it. It looks like water, it's a liquid, but it's actually, it's evaporating. Now that's liquid nitrogen. So now that you've done that, I'll show you what happens. I'll show you what happens when you put something like a rubber band, a normal rubber band, right? Thaw out very quickly. Okay, so that's, and it's made out of the air you're breathing. So most of the air you're breathing is nitrogen, about 78%. Then you've got about 21% oxygen, which keeps you alive, and about 0.04% carbon dioxide, which keeps the plants alive, okay? And the plants make oxygen, so that's what happens. And it just pours like water, but if you spill a bit, it does a bit of a few lights, and you can do a bit of dancing, you know. No. Okay, so we get back to the serious part, and if you're gonna AI a cow, it'll just turn instantly to ice.
Literally?
Yeah, instant ice.
Wow.
So when you're gonna AI a cow, what's the first thing you do?
Get the cow in.
Exactly right. Who said that? You did. Good man. So have your cow in the crush ready that you're gonna AI before you go near any of this, because you've got certain timelines to follow, okay? You can't have this out for too long. So you thaw your semen in water, and it's got to be in the shade. Sunlight, if you did all this in the sun will kill the semen in the straw, okay? So that's why you see roofs over crushes, and you see anyone getting semen out, they're working in the shade, okay? It's not for the people to be out of the sun, it's for the semen, okay? So we're going to get a straw out, and these, okay, so you'll have a list written somewhere of what bull's in which part of your container and what it looks like, yep.
Sometimes my mum forgets and she doesn't put it on a list, and then she has to go looking through the whole
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
trying to find it.
Yeah, no, so it's a good idea to keep what we call an inventory of where everything is, because they've got 6 buckets in here, and all the straws can have different colours and all that sort of thing. So this has only got pretend straws in it. They're full of antiseptic for teaching people. So that's a straw there.
Can you change to different buckets?
Yeah, it just depends which one you pick up.
There's different handles.
Yeah, there's 6 handles there. It goes in that water, and the water, see the thermometer? The water has to be sort of 34 to 36 degrees, okay? And if you're down the crush and you haven't got a fancy flask that you got plugged into the power to keep it at the one temperature, which I do use on the bigger jobs, you just need your water bottle and a thermos of hot water, and do a mix so that your temperature is at around that 35 degrees plus or minus 1. Well, we want to go just under body temperature, because the worst thing for semen survival is temperature shock. So, okay, we've taken it from the bull. When it's processed, it's cooled down to 4 degrees, which is the temperature of your fridge at home, and then it's put in straws. Once it's in straws, it's brought down to about minus 120, and then down to minus 196. When we've taken it out, we take it out of here at minus 196, put it in that 35-degree water for at least 30 seconds, and that'll bring it up to that 4 degrees again and make it fluid instead of as solid as steel, as ice. And then we put it in the cow, and it's up to body temperature and comes back to life and swims away and does its job. We wipe the water off it, and we put it in our AI gun, like that. And we have to cut the end off it. It's important that what we cut it with is visibly clean, so we give it a wipe, cut the end off, and we put a sheath over it. And the sheath is sterile. They come in packs of 50 from Europe, sterilised, and that's ready to use. We just bring the fluid up and that's ready to use. So that's thawed out from as solid as steel to fluid ready to use in that 30 seconds. Okay? We then go and put it in the cow. So when you put your arm inside the cow, I'll just sit this down for a minute. This is the pelvis of your cow. So as you stand behind your cow, you can see her hips out each side and her pin bones here. The empty reproductive tract will be sitting in that pelvic area like that. Okay? So what you do is you put your left arm in her rectum above the reproductive tract, and you can push the bowel around and hold the reproductive tract in your hand. And the part you're looking for is the cervix, which is that hard part there. Okay? And that is sitting just inside there. So what we're doing with the AI gun is we're going in the vulva, up the vagina, against the cervix, working our way through the cervix and ending up with the instrument lying just into the uterus inside there. Okay? And once it's in there, we'll dispense the semen. So that's how AI works. Yep.
How much do you dispense?
So if it's been synchronised up, you'll put all the semen, that's the length of that plunger, in the uterus. If it's a cow that's just come on heat by herself without any injections, you'll put 2/3 of it there, bring your instrument back a little bit and put the other third in the cervix. Okay? Yeah.
Where the bull would normally get to compared to the...
Okay, so the bull will not get past the cervix. So the cervix is that gristly structure between the vagina and the uterus. And it's a one-way valve. Okay, so things inside here can get out, like the calf when it's time to be born. Okay, but nothing can get back in unless it's microscopic. It's a seal. Okay, but we penetrate that seal with this by working our way through it like that and end up just through and dispense the semen in the uterus. Okay, so that's what's involved in AI. Righto, so you can have a feel of that, but that's what you're going to be feeling. Feel that gristly thing in there? It's like a sausage. In Brahman cattle, it's the shape of a carrot. So this outer end is bigger and it gets narrower as you go forward. Okay?
What did you say, if they're brought on by chemicals or whatever, where do you distribute the semen and everything?
Put it all in the uterus.
All in the uterus?
All in the uterus, yeah. When they come on naturally, in biology, everything happens over a range of time, and unless you've interfered with that, the chance of her releasing her egg at the right time is pretty good, but she might be a bit late releasing it. So the semen you've put in the uterus swims up near the ovaries and only lasts so long, and then it starts to lose its strength and dies. The semen you've left in the cervix on the way out lives longer and takes longer to get around to where it fertilises the egg. So what you end up with is a longer range of time where you've got viable semen able to fertilise an egg. Okay? So that's why we do that. But if they've been synchronised up, and what Shelley, my wife, and I do is we go to properties where the cattle have been synchronised up, and we'll AI the whole lot of them, but you've got 4 hours. You've got a 4-hour AI window to do that. Okay? So the most we do in 4 hours is 250. We've pushed it a bit more than that, but that's, yeah, if everything's flowing nice, you can do as many as that in 4 hours. Okay? Yep.
How come it's only 4 hours out?
It's because of the synchrony program. So you've put implants in them, you've given them needles in a 10-day lead up, and then on the 10th day you're going to you put in implants like these or these in the vagina, and giving them injections as well, and then that's a 10-day exercise. Okay. What I'll do now is put a glove on and I'll show you these uteruses. And this is what we call the horns of the uterus. Okay? And they curl around, and then there's an ovary. See that thing there? And it's a twin system. On the other side, if you follow it round, there's the other ovary there. So that's what carries the eggs. The heifer calf, when it's born, has its lifetime supply of eggs. It doesn't make any more as it goes through life, and it has thousands and thousands of them. Okay? But they don't make any more. Unlike bulls with semen, they're making it all the time. Females are born with their lifetime supply of eggs. Okay? So that's when you're AIing. Okay, you've got to go through that. And this is still a bit cold. I've had this frozen because it's very, yeah, it is frozen. It's better to be frozen than rotten. But so I'm in the rectum of the animal with this left hand, and you work your way through like that. Okay, but she's a bit frozen. But you end up with the gun out the other end there, and that's where you put the semen. Okay, so that's what's principally involved. Your arm's in the rectum, but you've got to hold her cervix like this. You're pushing your rectum around and holding it like that and working it like that. Okay, there we go, it's going through now. And you've got to manipulate it. It's halfway through and extremely cold. Okay, so that's an empty tract. This down here is her bladder. Okay, it's full of urine, frozen at the moment. So you understand what I'm talking about here with all this stuff? When the semen's put in the uterus, it swims up both sides, right around up here near the ovary. Okay, and ends up in what we call the oviduct, which is that little vein running around there. You'll notice the right-hand one, this side, is bigger than the left-hand one. In cattle, they'll get pregnant 70% of the time on the right-hand side. Okay?
Isn't twins when two sperm go into one egg?
No, for twins you've got to have 2 eggs. So for some reason, instead of releasing 1 egg, she's released 2 eggs, and then the both are fertilised and develops. Only sometimes where you get identical twins is where the one embryo has started to form and for some reason splits in half. Okay, so if you know of any, even in people, where there's identical twins, you know, the two kids look exactly the same, it's because that embryo split in half. If they don't look the same, it's because 2 eggs are released and they're separate individuals. Okay, so that's how that works. Righto. So there's a calf in there that's probably about yay big. Yeah.
What happened to them? Like, why do they not keep growing? Like, why do you have them?
Well, The meatworks will even sometimes ask for cattle that are advanced in pregnancy because they get the blood out of them calves and they use it for human pharmaceutical products. So you used to do it, yeah. And it's worth a lot of money, but the grazier or the owner of the animal doesn't get paid for that. They just get paid for the kilos of meat, the carcass. This is all bonus. Yeah.
Canola meats, they chase cows that are in calf.
Yeah.
They just get mega money.
Yeah. So there's a lot more happens to your parts of the animal than just meat, okay, when it gets processed. Yeah. So if you were preg testing that cow, you'd have put your arm in and got hold of her cervix, which is here, and try to pick it up, and there's a big weight hanging on the other end of it. That's all of this. It's hanging on the end of that cervix. And when it's to that stage, it'll be right down near the cow's udder. So to feel that by putting your arm in the back of the cow, you've got to go right down and you'd feel over that, and there's all lumps and bumps, okay, in there, because there's what we call cotyledons surrounding that calf. Yeah. So it starts off, the earliest you can pick them up and feel a difference with your hand is probably around getting towards 8 weeks. If you've got an ultrasound scanner, you can pick them up from 5 weeks. You can see on the screen the development in the uterus. Okay. Any of you had your arm inside a cow? Couple of you? Yeah. Righto. So, yeah, you can learn to AI, you can learn to preg test. Okay. Preg testing is a good skill to have.